Hanson, this is Lindsey Rhodes. We have 2 hours to spend with you if you can spare it.
2 hours, and we've got details about the team's plans for the Super Bowl. They're starting to leak out. The Patriots announcing today they're going to leave on Sunday, Scott.
Can't wait to get there.
Send-off being planned for their fans. They've done this a few times before. Pats on their way to their 3rd straight Super Bowl after beating the Chiefs in their 8th straight AFC Championship game in really impressive fashion. Strong start, a furious 4th quarter. Take a 3-point lead on a 4-yard Rex Burkhead score to get the Chiefs the ball back with 39 seconds. Mahomes make a couple of plays, hands it over to Harrison Butker to kick a 39-yarder to send it to overtime where the Patriots win the coin flip. Matt Slater calling heads. Brady gets the ball. Tony Romo predicts every single play, and that's all she wrote. Pats are headed back to the big game. That's Rex Burkhead punching it in. It's going to be the 9th time in Brady's career in the Super Bowl. He's facing a team now with a guy who could be a matchup nightmare for him, Aaron Donald. Here's Bill Belichick on him earlier today.
Look at the Rams' defensive line, specifically from a pass rush perspective. What stands out to you about the challenge of blocking them?
Yeah, really good. Got great inside power and quickness, and got great edge rush. Got a lot of good players, a lot of guys that are hard to block. So yeah, they're good. Do a really good job. Wade always does. Excellent coach, and he does a great job with all those guys. They have a variety of players, and they're all a problem.
It's curious what stands out to you specifically about Aaron Donald and his style of play.
Everything, pretty much unblockable.
Pretty much unblockable. And that's interesting for this reason. The book on Brady, for as long as I can remember, it's hit him, it's get him off the spot. And if you've got somebody who could do that from the inside, that's even better because as you see here, Brady has struggled against interior pressure this season with a passer rating of 63.1. Nobody gets interior pressure in this league better than the Rams, and that's because of Aaron Donald. He had kind of a quiet night this past day. I keep saying night. They played in the early game against the Saints. How do you see this matchup going?
I see it kind of being the same mentality, the same intensity that the Rams have been having all year, and that's to get pressure on the quarterback. And somebody that you really need to get pressure on is Tom Brady. So you see the Rams have that ingredient to get to him, as you mentioned, and Aaron Donald is going to be the leader of that. Now, against the Saints, he was getting double-teamed, and he was getting close, but wasn't quite getting there. As you said, he hasn't had the impact that he's been having throughout the playoffs, and that's okay. He's getting double, but he's finding ways to get in and get in quarterbacks' faces, and they understand that. So a lot of people will say Tom Brady also gets rid of the ball pretty fast. You're absolutely right. He's one of the best at it, right? But I still give the advantage to the L.A. Rams, and the reason being is that secondary. They got guys in that secondary that can hold up receivers, can kind of slow them down in and out their breaks and cause a quarterback, even a Tom Brady, to hold on to that ball an extra second and give Aaron Donald that chance to get to him. He's normally quite not just getting there in time, but now going up against Tom Brady in a receiving corps that is not as shifty as most, Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh can get there.
It's going to take an all-out effort from everybody on both sides of the ball. This is a really interesting matchup, and Reggie Wayne will have lots to say about it. Reggie Wayne, who, of course, has some Super Bowl experience of his own. We'll talk about that still ahead. First, though, we're going to bring in Ian Rappaport, who is today down in Mobile, Alabama for the first day of Senior Bowl practices, and we'll get to the information about all of that still ahead. First, though, what's this about a laser pointer in Sunday's game and a league investigation?
Yeah, but the league is, in fact, looking into the apparent use of a laser pointer, something that mimicked that on Tom Brady's helmet. It actually was visible on Chris Hogan's helmet as well, and not just in the second quarter in a random play. This was in the fourth quarter, important parts of the game. It did appear that a fan or fans was using a laser pointer or something to shine off of Tom Brady's helmet. This is not actually the first time we've had a situation like this in the NFL. This also apparently was used in the Mexico game a couple years ago. The league spokesman did say that they're looking into it and trying to identify the fan that apparently used it.
Reggie Wayne sitting next to me saying it's actually happened with him before, Ian. Also some big news coming out of Kansas City earlier today. They didn't get that win against the Patriots, and it cost somebody their job.
It did. It was Bob Sutton, the defensive coordinator, longtime defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, was fired today after the performance that his unit had on the field on Sunday, obviously letting Tom Brady go all the way down the field and drive for the game-winning touchdown to put them in the Super Bowl. And obviously it looked worse for Bob Sutton when you consider the fact that Tony Romo on the broadcast was literally calling out the plays the Patriots would end up running, and no one, it seemed, from Kansas City was aware of that. And he has been a source of frustration inside that building when he talked to players about the lack of adjustments, especially mid-game adjustments. Now the Kansas City Chiefs are looking for a new defensive coordinator. Some names to consider: Dennis Allen from the Saints, who is a free agent, John Pagano, and Steve Spagnuolo.
And Tony Romo, maybe put a call on him. Nope, he's busy. Okay. Thank you very much, Ian Rappaport.
Well, the NFC Championship game, my cousin John, big Saints fan, still can't talk about it now, and it's been over 48 hours. There it is, the missed call with the biggest consequences.
Look how he's looking around, though. He's looking for the flag himself. Yeah. When the DB is looking for the flag himself, you know it's a flag.
Nikel Roby-Coleman got away with that one there on Tommy Lee Lewis. No flag. Huge consequences in this game. We ended up going into overtime. Look at the Saints still got the football first, and then they turned it over. Big pressure applied on Drew Brees by Dante Fowler, the pickoff by John Johnson, and that would lead to a Greg Zuerlein historic game-winning kick. 57 yards in the playoffs to win the game, the longest we've ever seen. And the Rams are going to the Super Bowl 26-23. And, of course, after the game, a lot of the conversation was about the missed pass interference call.
Listen, it's a hard job for those guys because it's happening fast, but I don't know if there was ever a more obvious pass interference call that, here it is, the NFC Championship game. So, tough one to swallow.
I thought Nikel Roby made a nice play. They snapped it on a quick snap and had a little wheel route coming out of the backfield. I thought it was a competitive type play, and certainly I'm not going to complain about the way that was officiated.
Obvious interference in the helmet to helmet, but it's done now. What's done is done.
No, I never seen the ball. Nope, never seen the ball.
Sorry, I'm sure you've been asked, but have you seen the replay of the play?
No, have not seen the replay.
Do you want to?
No.
All right, time now to bring in one of the more prominent Saints-centric voices in all of national football media, a former Saints Super Bowl champion, Reggie Bush. Have you recovered, Reg?
I have not recovered, no.
Okay.
I'm still thinking about it.
What's your thoughts on the missed call?
My thoughts are that can't happen. A lot of guys, a lot of players, they sacrifice their bodies, they sacrifice their brain, they sacrifice their livelihoods. Families take a backseat to football. Relationships are sacrificed. There is so much that players, coaches, and organizations sacrifice to get to that moment on the biggest stage. You cannot miss a call of that magnitude, or you should not be an NFL referee.
Okay. No one argued. The refs would agree that, we missed that call and we shouldn't have missed the call. What do we do going forward?
I think going forward, you should be able to challenge any play. You get 2 challenges per half, and you can use those
anytime in the game.
Anytime in the game, you can challenge a missed call.
My defensive end got held on
Exactly. It can be a holding call, because you remember last year in the Kansas City Chiefs game, a game was decided because of a holding call. Remember, I think it was an offensive tackle or Travis Kelce. Yeah. Somebody had a holding call, and that decided the game for him. So too often we're seeing games decided by referees, and that can't happen. And you see, I got my yellow handkerchief.
Not changing the subject,
in here today.
Your outfit was a little loud.
I thought that I thought the refs might, want to use this, since they didn't pull it out during the game time.
Hey,
we got any refs in here?
Hey,
no, we ain't got no refs
Saints
in here.
fans brought their own whistles to the game.
I'm gonna throw it myself. There you go.
There you go.
Right
nice
there.
toss there too, as well. All right. Okay. Look it was a blown call.
Yeah.
It probably it allowed the Rams to have that opportunity to do what they did.
Yeah.
That being said, the Saints offense after the first quarter was just sluggish.
Yeah.
10 points after the first quarter. Why?
Yeah, they struggled. And it's hard when you play a team twice in the same season. Usually those are divisional games, right? And when I look at the game last week when they played against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles went up 14-0 on them. We had
a game where they smoked them earlier.
Exactly. We had to fight tooth and nail to come back to win that football game. So it's the same thing in this game against the Los Angeles Rams. You have a whole season of tape on you. You've already played them once.
Aqib Talib was back for the Rams.
Aqib Talib was back. and C.J. Anderson was lights out in this game as well. To me, he was the difference maker. He is the player that makes this engine tick right now. And I think, and I hate to say this, I think C.J. Anderson may be the better option as a running back right now than Todd Gurley. Not that you don't use Todd Gurley. You still use him a lot. But I think C.J. Anderson right now has to be the workhorse.
We have plenty of Rams talk coming up, plenty of Patriots talk coming up. But as for the Saints, they look ahead to the future. They got to get creative in free agency because the draft doesn't look like it's going to help them. First 4 rounds of the draft, the Saints have 1 second-round pick, and that's it.
Don't trust anyone who tells Anderson. Part of the reason for that with his 37 snaps and 16 carries, 17 touches. Is that the only reason, though, Reg? What are you seeing? What's going on with Todd Gurley?
I think Todd Gurley is fine. You know, if one game defined us as players, then none of us would be successful. Todd Gurley, he struggled in that last game, but I remember my game in the NFC Championship when we played against the Minnesota Vikings. I had 7 carries for 8 yards. The game before that, I played really well. And sometimes the other team just has your number, and when you get into the playoffs, and especially when you're playing a team for the second time in the season, sometimes they just have your number. So to me, nothing is wrong with Todd Gurley. He is still one of the best running backs that this league has to offer. And I look for him to have a bounce-back game in the Super Bowl. Okay,
but considering he is one of the best running backs that this league has to offer, is 5 touches too short a leash?
I think 5 touches is too short. If I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm still going to rely on him. I'm still going to trust in him because the one thing that players have going for them more than anything else is their level of confidence. And who is more confident than Todd Gurley right now in the backfield? He's played great all season long. You can't expect him to have, 100-plus yards every time he plays a football game. So he's going to have these up and down games, especially, like I said, in the NFC Championship game, the margin for error is significantly less than it is in a regular season.
Well, you say you think he is healthy. Sean McVay insists that he is. It says it's up to him to get him more opportunities, so we'll see if he does that next Sunday. What else do you think the Rams need to address from Sunday in order to have success against the Patriots?
Well, one area they have to address is the secondary. I still saw holes in that secondary. When you're playing against the New England Patriots, they make you defend the whole football field. And if you look at this play right here, to me, this is a play that the safety should have made. Joyner should have made a play on this football. He's seen it coming the whole way, and still Ted Ginn is able to jump in front of him and make the big catch. So that's one area of weakness that they have to quickly get better at because the Patriots, like I said, they make you defend the whole football field. If you try to say, well, we're going to take away Edelman in this game, okay, then Gronk could go off. Or it could be Cordell Patterson or James White against linebackers, which we saw Alvin Kamara have a huge day against these linebackers.
Yeah, Kamara with 11 catches on Sunday, 9 of them on a linebacker. You look at the stat sheet, it was the only guy that really hurt him. 111 scrimmage yards, 96 through the air, and we all know what James White can do.
In franchise history, crazy stats from first half to second half. First half against one of the most lethal offenses in football, they shut out Pat Mahomes in Kansas City. Second half, Mahomes hung 31 points on him. They only punted twice in the second half, but it was enough to get the job done, and New England's going to their 3rd straight Super Bowl. We got Reggie right here, and for the sake of this chat, let's focus on this Patriots defense, and let's also bring in NFL Media's Mike Garafolo for this chat. Question for both of you guys. We'll start with Weezy here. What impressed you most about the Patriots defense and the way they took the likely MVP, Patrick Mahomes?
I'll tell you what I was impressed about. That Bill Belichick is still running the same type defenses when I play, and it's still effective. Right?
Okay.
We knew going into this game that they couldn't let Tyreek Hill beat him over top. So what Bill Belichick always does, he always double the main receiver. So as you see right here, Tyreek Hill's at the top. There's your 2 secondary players, and they always put their best corner on your number 2 receiver. Now you have Stephon Gilmore on Sammy Watkins. Here you have Tyreek Hill being doubled by the defensive backs, and Sammy Watkins getting jammed by the
jam
number
by
1
Gilmore.
defensive back, Stephon Gilmore. As you see, there was no area for Pat Mahomes to throw the ball. Right here again, you might think this is the same play, but it actually is not. Tyreek Hill at the top being doubled. Stephon Gilmore is on Sammy Watkins at number 2 receiver. Here he is, come off the ball. Doubled at the top, singled by Stephon Gilmore. And by the time Sammy Watkins gets open, there is pressure on Pat Mahomes before he can deliver the ball. So Bill Belichick says, I'm going to double your best guy. I'm going to force your number 2 to make all the plays against our number 1 corner, and you're going to see if he can get that done.
Mike G, jump in here on this.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw that we talked about on Good Morning Football Weekend, the morning of the game, because I mentioned that the people in Kansas City were expecting this, and they got it. It was hands from defensive players on Tyreek Hill, not in those 2 plays that Reggie showed. They didn't do every single play, but on Hill and also on Travis Kelce. They got on those guys at the line of scrimmage early in the game, making it clear, hey, you're going to have to work to get off the line, work to get open. And why not make them work? I mean, it's cold out. Let's get those muscles moving. Let's make you have to earn those first couple of yards of your route. I mean, they were up in their face to disrupt that timing, and I really do believe that early in the game, it was a huge reason why the Chiefs were out of rhythm, at least a little bit offensively. Then they figured out some stuff, how to get some clean releases, and started to click after that. But Bill Belichick made it clear that that was a point of emphasis early in the game. They did a great job.
All right, fellas, as we speak, Sean McVay is watching video on the New England Patriots. He's probably memorizing every play that the Patriots had this year. And he's looking for weaknesses against New England. Offense, defense, or special teams. Where would you tell him to look for weaknesses in the Patriots?
If I'm telling McVay to look for a weakness, right, I'm going to say, you know what, Sean McVay? I'm going to pray.
How about you had something really profound? You were loading up or something right there? Come on, man. It's a close game.
If you're going to do something, you're going to get to Tom Brady. I think that's the kryptonite.
That's what people say, the interior push.
To all quarterbacks, especially Tom Brady. You got to find a way to get him off his mark. You can't have him sit up there and go to the first read and get rid of the ball fast. You got to get him to second guess and see ghosts. That's the one thing about Brady that we saw when he struggled this year. He was seeing ghosts. Guys were getting after him. So some kind of way, Aaron Donald, McDermott, and Sue Fowler, those guys have got to put pressure on Tom.
Well, you figure if there's 2 defensive tackles who could do it up the middle in between the guards, it's those 2 guys. Absolutely. Mike, a thought on that?
I'm afraid to say something here. I'm going to wind up on the Patriots social media post or maybe Julian Edelman or whatever. But speaking of Edelman, I'm not saying this is a weakness, but I think it's a strength for the Rams. Nickel Roby-Coleman, I mean, he was involved in that pass interference play on Sunday that should have been called. But outside of that, he is a really good player. He's played really well this year. I think it's a really good matchup for the Rams against Edelman. He's going to have to work to get open.
I'll tell you one thing where they are not weak. That is in the mental toughness department. Let's keep in mind, the Patriots were the Super Bowl loser last year. Traditionally, that is like a 2 or 3 year prohibition against making it back to the Super Bowl. Patriots make it back the very next year. We haven't seen a team that lost the Super Bowl make it back to the Super Bowl in the next year in 26 years. Wow. This New England Patriots bunch.
So you better get your eye on James White. He's a problem over there. Guarantee you, when New England Patriots turn on last week's game, the thing that sticks out the most is James White versus the linebackers. Extremely talking about Corey Littleton, who struggled covering Alvin Kamara. All day he was in chase mode. He saw Alvin Kamara's jersey, name on back his jersey all day. So if you're going to find out some way to stop him, you got to stop James White, because I can tell you, we can go back all the way to 2 Super Bowls ago, Super Bowl 51. Yeah. Tom Brady, James White. James White set a Super Bowl record. He had 14 catches. You better find a way to get him stopped, because a lot of those passes that we're not seeing with Gronkowski, those passes are going to James White. So he's adding up for that.
That's one of the things that make him so dangerous, because they make you play everybody. And if you try to take away James White, they're just going to hit you with Sony Michel. They're going to throw Gronk in there. They're going to sprinkle Edelman in there, little Chris Hogan, and they make you defend the whole field.
All right, so same question, other team, though, Reggie Bush. We all talk about how the Patriots are so good at taking away that one thing that you do best. What is that thing?
I think right now the player that you have to take away if you're the New England Patriots has to be C.J. Anderson. Right now, he is running the football with a purpose. He's running the football like he has a lot to prove. And he probably has the freshest body of anybody on that football field right now. I think he even admitted to that himself. He is the engine that makes this offense tick, and he is the reason why the play action is wide open right now for Jared Goff. So if I'm the Patriots, You take away C.J. Anderson, you start with the run game there, and that kind of gets you going in the right direction.
It's so funny that that's the answer. This is this high-powered offense we talked about all season long. That's a guy they didn't even have until week 16.
Didn't even have him. One thing about C.J. Anderson, I look at this as almost kind of like the Nick Foles feels. He brings extra energy to that offense. So whenever he's in there, you just see a different Rams team than you do with Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Is there a matchup in this game that the Patriots can exploit?
It's got to be Jared Goff. Young quarterback, new experience for him, bright lights, cameras everywhere, everybody's watching. I think the Patriots are going to have to send the house at him, make him get confused, disguise defensive back fronts, secondary looks. Do everything you can to make him think, get him uncomfortable. You don't want to have him back there sitting back and just playing pitch and catch with these receivers. I think Bill Belichick would dial up something funny and get something often to make him struggle.
Yeah, he answered the call, though, this past weekend. What about the Rams? How do they get a matchup advantage?
Well, I kind of want to play off your point from our production meeting. I want to see Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson in the backfield together because they have not shown that all year long. And when you play the Patriots, you're playing against the ultimate chess player in Bill Belichick. So you need to have a few formations that you have not shown, a few wrinkles in that offense you have not shown. And Todd Gurley is extremely dangerous in the pass game, especially when you get him matched up on some linebackers. And now you have C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley in the backfield. Think about what that looks like to a defense. That's scary when you see both of them in the backfield, especially the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, and if you sell out to stop C.J. Anderson, you can just check out of the play and get it to Gurley, right?
Yep, that's it.
I'm just saying. You heard it during the broadcast on Sunday. The Rams don't use very many offensive personnel groupings. Just 2 used in that game against the Saints. 11 and 12, both of those call for just 1 running back. Like Reggie said, we haven't seen them on the field at the same time.
All right, back to the play from the NFC Championship game. The missed pass interference call against Nickel Roby-Coleman, who admitted that it was pass interference and helmet-to-helmet contact and a defenseless receiver, but no flag on the play. Social media handled this the way you think social media would handle it. A group of Saints fans have filed a class action lawsuit to try and get their justice as they see in their eyes. But football practicality, Mike Garafolo, would say 31 other teams were looking at this saying, whoa, what if this was us on Sunday? What are people around the league saying today, Mike?
Well, absolutely. And you saw Gail Benson, the Saints owner, release that statement yesterday saying she's pretty much going to do anything she can to make sure that there are some elements in place next year maybe that could prevent something like this. That would be replay. I mean, and that's been the discussion the last couple of days. But just in talking to team officials and league officials, yes, it is going to be discussed with the competition committee ahead of the scouting combine next month at the league meetings in March as well. But the problem is it gets to that slippery slope. Are we now going to open up everything to be officiated by instant replay? That is something that the league does not want. Of course, nobody wants a play like this to affect the outcome of the game, but it just opens up so many other problems in the eyes of those involved in the decision making here that I just don't see any changes coming up. Maybe for, as our colleagues Steve Weish and Judy Batista tweeted out earlier today, maybe for a call that's made, and then you can challenge it and they could pick up the flag. But for non-calls, both Judy and Steve, and from what I'm hearing, we are all saying that is extremely unlikely.
Yeah, you get defensive linemen who say holding happens on every single play and doesn't get called. It could open up a box that they don't want to right there. Mike, here we are in basically hitting to late January now. 2 teams remain. That means it's time for us to start thinking about veteran players who are deciding to play again or maybe hang up the cleats. I want to throw out one specific name to you, literally hanging up the cleats as he did one time in his career. Beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. Is he going to come back to the Raiders?
If they play in the Bay Area, I believe it is an option for Marshawn Lynch and something that he will explore. If they don't, I believe there's no chance. I'll put it to you that way. But John Gruden said today at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, that he would welcome Marshawn Lynch back. I mentioned back in October when Lynch went on injured reserve that Gruden told him back then, we would love to have you back. So Gruden has had a consistent message to Lynch that they would welcome him back. Spoke to Lynch's longtime agent, Doug Hendrickson, today. He said he will sit sit down with his client next week, and they will hatch a plan for 2019. So that'll be the next step in the process. We will track it for you.
93 career touchdowns for him. If he comes back, has one more decent season, could make it an even 100. Mike G with the very latest. We'll check back all throughout the offseason on that beast mode front. Before we get to the offseason, though, one more game, and it adds Belichick coaching in it one more time. So he's notoriously stone-faced. How humorous would he be after a gut-wrenching loss? Well, Reggie Wayne has...
So what's going on down there?
Well, by now, all of the players should have touched down here in Orlando. The practices get underway for both teams on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, with a full week of activities ahead of Sunday's game. Now, on Thursday is the Pro Bowl Skills Showdown, and this year there are a few more competitions that have been added to the mix, including the 40-yard splash. That's where players like Von Miller and Russell Wilson will duke it out in like a relay sort of competition that culminates in a dunk tank. There are also some last-minute substitutions to account for the players that will be headed up to the Super Bowl. Mitchell Trubisky will be in for Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson in for Tom Brady, Alvin Kamara in for Todd Gurley, and Kawan Short will be in for Aaron Donald. Now, this is very much the calm before the Pro Bowl storm at this point, but once the teams hit the field tomorrow, we'll have some of the best players in the league all in one place.
Thank you very much, MJ. Looking forward to all of this. As you mentioned, Pro Bowl replacements being announced as recently as today. So a quick turnaround for some of these players. Alvin Kamara just got the call today. So he'll be going in place of Todd Gurley. We're sitting next to a 6-time Pro Bowler in Reggie Wayne, who will also be there this Sunday in Orlando for NFL Network. So that should be a fun assignment.
Fun.
What's your favorite Pro Bowl memory?
2006. We played the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. We was victorious. We beat them to advance in the Super Bowl against the Bears, which we also won. And we had to do the whole parade stuff back in Indianapolis, so we arrived to the Pro Bowl late on Wednesday. This was my first Pro Bowl, right?
This is when the Pro Bowl was after the Super Bowl.
It was after the Super Bowl. And we get there, and my coaching staff is the New England Patriots. And they had to introduce the Indianapolis Colts as the world champion. The world champions. The look on Bill Belichick's face when he did that was priceless. He didn't get any eye contact. He was looking down at the ground, and he was like, the Indianapolis Colts, world champions. Here they are. I mean, it was priceless. I mean, and we know all the rivals we had back in the 2000s.
What was he like as a Pro Bowl coach?
You know, he took it a little too serious.
Not surprised. No surprise there at all.
At first, it was cool. Everything was all right, but we didn't play up to par in the first half, and we got in the halftime, and he gave us a yelling. And I'm like, is this how the Pro Bowl is supposed to go? Bill Belichick, he got fire hot. His face was red. He told us to pick it up, or we can get our stuff and get out. In the Pro Bowl.
In the Pro Bowl. I thought they wasn't tackling the Pro Bowl.
Man, he was ready for everything.
Speaking of tackling in the Pro Bowl, that's one of your favorite memories,
It is one of my favorites. And watching Sean Taylor in that Pro Bowl, the way he hit that punter, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was there. I was there.
I have ever felt a hit through the TV the way I felt that hit. But, man, is that punter, is he alive? Where is he at today? Because I want to know if he got any kind of, like, side effects or anything.
I was there, and I can tell you that he was so upset on that sideline. I don't think he expected to get touched. Did he expect him to just let him get the first down? I mean, everybody sit there. Everybody just went up to him like, man, you all right? That's all we can say. Are you all right? He was like, man, I'm fine. I'm fine. You know.
So these are a lot of people that are not getting the Pro Bowl memo. Bill Belichick, don't take it too seriously and yell at your players. And don't hit people.
Don't hit the punter anyway. He hit everybody else. Don't hit the punter. What did he do? He ain't do nothing.
He's not hard.
Not hard.
Super Bowl bye week. It gets us nostalgic for all the great moments in the previous 52 Super Bowls, including some of the greatest catches of all time. And you see over my shoulder here, we have brought television's Dave Dameshek by to do like an NFL honors before NFL honors. What are we doing today, Dave?
Yeah, a nice aperitif. I think that's the appropriate word there, Hanson. Yes, I am standing alongside Super Bowl champion Reggie Wayne. I've done all the hard work. I've watched 52 Super Bowls, every second of them, at the expense of any meaningful human relationships. And now I have boiled it down to just 5 candidates for the greatest catch in Super Bowl history. All due respect to Max McGee in 1, Julio in 51, Jermaine Kearse, Lynn Swann about a half dozen times in between. Here are your 5 greatest catches in Super Bowl history.
Deep for Stallworth. Touchdown for the Steelers.
What a catch. Over the wrong shoulder. He had to take that over the wrong shoulder. That's one of the great catches you'll ever see.
Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. Airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree. Inside the 25 and a timeout taken.
Miller slot left. Washington outside left. Roethlisberger has time. Throws to the back of the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown by Holmes.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. 4-man rush. Eli throwing into traffic on the sideline. They're going to rule it a catch by Manningham. Along the sideline, they're going to spot the ball at the 50-yard line.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass. Edelman comes down with a football, and they're saying it's a catch. Oh, that's a catch.
Oh, my God.
That's incredible.
All right, that last one continues to make my head spin. Reggie Wayne, here you see those 5 catches. We only have 3 slots. Listen, the winner's stand. That's all we're worried about here. Where shall we start here? Let's start at number 3.
Well, first of all, before I get to number 3, I'm still trying to figure out why they have you getting the top 5 catches of all time.
What are you talking about?
That's okay, but I'm here to help. I'm here to help.
Your counsel is appreciated. Prima donna, am I right?
Number 3. We love you, Devil. Number 3, right? I know I'm going to have a lot of flack for this, but I got to go in Santonio Holmes, right? What? At number 3 right here.
2 catches rank ahead of that one?
It's all about difficulty. As a receiver, we practice getting our toes in bounds. Now, he may have a little distraction drill with 6 arms in the way.
Yes!
But that's easy. We do that in our sleep. That's not a big deal. Great
34
catch.
seconds left in the game.
Great catch. Not a big deal.
Right.
I expect Santonio to make that play, right?
All right.
I give him number 3.
High expectations.
Number 2, right? I got to go Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman is number 2. As I said, difficulty, right? His phalanges. You know what phalanges are?
No, I don't.
They're fingers. He had strong fingers to be able to grab that football and bring it in and have the concentration with guys all over him. That is an awesome play. This guy, and he's Mr. Playoff for him.
It is great.
It used to be Amendola. It's got to be Julian Edelman. He is number 2. And number 1, we got to go David Tyree.
Okay.
Once again, difficulty. I've never practiced catching the ball on my helmet. I don't know about you, even though they got you doing this, but that's okay. That is a tough catch. Prime time. If you saw it was 3rd and 5. Big time play, big time moment. Something that we would always watch and reminisce about because we was there watching it and you'll never forget that.
I completely agree because all 5 of these catches, in fact, were critical in victory for the teams you see there. Clutch. Anybody over there?
What about the Seattle Seahawks one? Y'all forgot about that one, huh?
The Curse one?
Jermaine Curse, he's bobbling that one. That was
Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush is angry. He seems miffed. Is he upset about
I'm still mad about
Reggie.
Reggie.
Seahawks lost that Super Bowl.
I know they lost.
Yeah. The Curse one didn't win the Super Bowl. These were tough decisions. This is the toughest category I think you can come up with.
Funny. Well, you got Tyree catch number 1. So I was talking to Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison told me that he was so distraught. Harrison was on the coverage there. He was so distraught he didn't leave his house for over a week after that game. He finally went out to go get groceries, right? He's in the grocery store in the produce aisle, and a woman takes a cantaloupe and goes like this to him. That's Rodney Harrison told me that story.
Insult to injury.
So that one is an all-timer. Even non-football fans.
She's probably 90 years old.
Cantaloupe drop. All this just the hors d'oeuvre, like I say. NFL honors, 9 p.m. on CBS. The eve of the Super Bowl, 53. Good job, Reggie Wayne.
What the Super Bowl is going to look like, I can tell you 2 things for sure. You are going to see the Patriots in white. They announced today that they will be wearing the white jerseys for Super Bowl 53. Missing an eye there. They are they lost in the whites last year in these whites. They were undefeated in the Super Bowl in the whites, though, under Belichick prior to that. 2-2 in the blues, as Giants fans well know. Rams fans announced their wardrobe immediately after the conference championship game, and it made Rams fans pretty happy. They're going with the throwback blues, and the patches are already going on. Interestingly enough, the Rams have never worn blue in the Super Bowl. Their previous 3 meetings in the big game, they've worn white in all of them. So this will be a first for them, and this is pretty cool. The LA Fire Department has announced that all fire department members are allowed to wear Rams caps while on duty. Says they can switch them out for Super Bowl champion caps on February 3rd. It's pretty cool, right? First responders, you'll see this around town. Scott?
The patches have enough eyes. Roman numerals are tough sometimes. Especially when they get up, you can subtract the number.
That's not a good sign already.
Okay. All right, fellas. There are 2 teams that will be, there's 30 teams that'll be watching the Super Bowl, but 2 teams that got the rock right up to the top of the mountain only to see it fall back. And it was the 2 #1 seeds, the Saints and the Chiefs. So let's get a head start on their off seasons right now. You're our New Orleans Saint. What does New Orleans have to do to get back to the Super Bowl next year?
Yeah, I think the first order of business that the Saints need to address to get back to the Super Bowl, they got to find a number 2 receiver. All season long, Michael Thomas has been their primary receiver, but they really haven't had a second guy because they've had a lot of injuries, but also Alvin Kamara has kind of filled that role as a second-place receiver. And if you think about this offense, it's considered a high-powered offense with not that many weapons. And people always try to compare this team to our 2009 team. We had depth at receiver.
I like them young guys.
Tight end as well.
I like them, but
tight end. They haven't had that threat since Jimmy Graham, of course. They might look there as well. All right, Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team that can score 35 on you.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other side of the football is where we're looking?
Yeah, that defense. That's what they need to look at.
Yeah.
That defense is straight. They've already started the order of business. They fired their defensive coordinator Sutton.
Just today, yes.
But that secondary, man, they got torched. And a lot of you can blame it on the offense because they score so many points to what teams got to throw to get back into it. But we expect that defensive secondary to make plays at some point in time, and they didn't do that at all this year. They struggled. They dealt with a lot of injuries back there. They had a lot of young guys, so maybe that's what it is. They were just young back there, and those guys get a little bit more experience. But they need to address that issue, especially when you got Pat Mahomes that's going to jump out on teams every week. That secondary better be ready to play.
And here's the great thing. Mahomes is under contract for the next 4 years under that rookie contract. So they can take big money on other players and try and attract them into Kansas City.
You got the defensive front. From that point on, let's get everybody together.
There you go. All right, when we come back to the Super Bowl now, it might be hard to know